The evening breeze rustled through the leaves in the city park, carrying with it the scent of blooming lilacs and freshly cut grass. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, creating long shadows that danced around the old oak trees. A family of ducks paddled serenely in the center of a large pond nestled within the park. The ducks, with their emerald green heads and brick red chests, were a common sight in the park, always ready to greet visitors with friendly quacks. But tonight, the atmosphere was different. A sense of expectancy hung in the air. The mother duck, Mabel, watched over her 5 ducklings, each more curious than the last. Oliver, the eldest, was known for his adventurous spirit. Penelope, the smallest, was always eager to help. Thomas, the shy one, preferred observing from the sidelines. Beatrice, the dreamer, often gazed at the clouds, imagining fantastical shapes. And lastly, Albert, the comedian, was never far from a good joke or a funny face. Tonight, the ducklings were restless, their little heads full of questions about the world beyond their pond. Mama, why can't we swim in the big fountain in the city? Oliver asked, his voice echoing with wonder. I hear the water is colder and the fish are bigger, added Penelope, tilting her head in curiosity. Mabel sighed, knowing their incessant questioning would not cease until she agreed. The city fountain, a majestic structure adorned with mythical creatures, was a popular spot for both humans and animals. But it was also fraught with dangers, from passing cars to curious onlookers. With a mix of firmness and affection, Mabel explained, My little ones, the world beyond our pond can be dangerous. You are still too young and inexperienced to venture into the city, but we can take care of ourselves, protested Oliver, puffing out his chest. We've been watching the other animals crossing the street. We can do it, too, suggested Penelope, her eyes shining with determination. Seeing her ducklings so eager to explore, Mabel knew she couldn't keep them from venturing out forever. So she finally relented, saying, Very well, my brave ducklings, but only under one condition. You must stick together and absolutely no wandering off. Do you understand? The ducklings, overwhelmed with joy, promised to be careful and obedient. And with that, they set off toward the big city. As the ducklings waddled along the pavement, they caused quite a stir among the passers-by. Some people stopped to admire the fluffy yellow ducklings trailing behind their mother. Others pulled out their phones to capture a memorable picture. One little girl even dropped her ice cream cone in amazement, which made Albert break into a fit of giggles. At the corner of a bustling street, the ducks came upon a group of older boys who were waiting for them. Hey, look, some ducklings, one of the boys said with a sneer. Let's scare them away. Before the ducklings could react, the boys started throwing pebbles in their direction. The ducklings panicked and huddled together, terrified by the sudden attack. Oliver, the bravest of them all, stood in front of his siblings, quacking loudly to scare the boys away. But the boys only laughed harder and continued their cruel game. Just when the situation seemed most dire, a whistle blew in the distance. The boys stopped their taunts and looked toward the source of the noise. A woman in a crisp blue uniform, accompanied by a friendly golden retriever, approached them. What's going on here? She asked sternly, her gaze fixed on the boys. Startled by the officer's authoritative tone, the boys quickly dispersed, grumbling under their breath. The woman crouched down to the ducklings' level, her face softening with concern. Are you all right, little ones? She asked gently. The ducklings, still shaken but unharmed, nodded their heads and huddled closer to their mother. Mabel, relieved by their unharmed state, thanked the officer profusely. In turn, the officer praised the ducklings for their bravery, assuring them that they had done well. As the officer and her dog walked away, the ducklings resumed their journey, their earlier enthusiasm now tempered with caution. They continued their trek, sticking closely together as they navigated the busy city streets. Continuing their adventure, the ducklings reached the majestic city fountain. Its towering stature and intricate carvings were truly awe-inspiring. However, as they approached the water's edge, they realized it was freezing cold. The ducklings huddled together, shivering in the unexpected chill. Suddenly, a loud, angry voice boomed, "Get away, you filthy animals." This fountain is off limits. The ducklings turned to find a burly man with a stern expression waving his arms menacingly. The man, clearly agitated, threatened to harm the ducklings if they didn't leave immediately. Frightened and vulnerable, the ducklings huddled closer to their mother, desperately seeking comfort. Realizing the danger they were in, Oliver quickly hatched a plan. He nudged his siblings, whispering urgently, "Quick, let's hide behind this bush. It's our best chance." Together, they scurried behind the bush, hoping their pursuer wouldn't think to look there. Holding their breath, they waited as footsteps and angry voices approached. When it seemed the coast was clear, they cautiously emerged from their hiding spot. Emboldened by their successful evasion, the ducklings continued their exploration. They marveled at the towering buildings that scraped the sky, the bustling crowds, and the cacophony of car horns. As they ventured further into the city, the ducklings stumbled upon a quaint little bookshop. Intrigued by the colorful display of books outside the store, the ducklings waddled inside. The musty smell of old paper filled their tiny nostrils as they gazed up at the towering shelves laden with stories waiting to be discovered. Just then, a kind-faced woman with twinkling eyes approached them. "Well, hello there, little ones. What brings you to my humble bookshop?" she asked with a warm smile. Before the ducklings could reply, Albert, being the mischievous one that he was, grabbed a nearby feather and pretended it was a paintbrush, making funny faces as he swished it around. This unexpected outburst of silliness caused the ducklings to erupt into fits of laughter, their earlier anxieties forgotten. The ducklings and the shopkeeper spent a delightful moment sharing smiles and laughter before it was time for them to continue their adventure. As the ducklings continued their exploration, they came across a bustling marketplace filled with enticing aromas and vibrant colors. The ducklings, unable to resist the temptation of sweet treats, waddled towards a vendor selling freshly baked cookies. "Excuse me," piped up Penelope, trying to be heard over the din of the crowd. The vendor, a jolly man with flour-dusted hands, leaned down to their level and asked, "What can I get for you, little ones?" "We would like some cookies, please," replied Oliver, his eyes shining with anticipation. The vendor, touched by their innocence, gave them each a bite-sized cookie, which they gobbled up in a matter of seconds. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the ducklings thanked the baker profusely. As the afternoon wore on, the ducklings' initial excitement began to fade, replaced by a growing weariness. The bustling city with its towering buildings and constant commotion had taken its toll on them. Suddenly, Thomas, the shyest of the ducklings, voiced what they were all thinking. "I'm tired and I want to go home," he confessed, his voice small but resolute. Hearing Thomas's heartfelt plea, the others voiced their agreement. They missed the cozy confines of their nest and the soothing presence of their mother. Realizing it was time to return home, the ducklings began retracing their steps. The journey back seemed much longer than their adventure out, and their little legs ached with fatigue. As dusk settled over the city, casting long shadows, the ducklings quickened their pace, eager to reach the familiar surroundings of their pond. Finally, they spotted the welcoming sight of the park's wrought iron gates. With renewed energy, they raced towards their sanctuary. Inside the safety of their pond, the ducklings snuggled close to their mother, feeling the warmth of her embrace. They recounted their adventures, sharing their experiences with each other. Mabel, though initially worried, couldn't help but feel a sense of pride as she listened to their tales, knowing they had faced their fears and returned home stronger as a family. As the stars twinkled above the city, the ducklings drifted off to sleep, their dreams filled with the day's adventures. The city might have been a challenging place, but they had faced its trials and returned home, proving that no matter how big the challenges, family and courage can light the way.